Video in the series on production possibility frontiers, which can be found in theme 1 section 1.1.4. So this is going to be about the distinction between capital and consumer goods. So what are capital goods? As it says on the screen there, capital goods are physical assets that are bought by firms and they're used to produce consumer goods. Examples of capital goods include machinery, buildings and tools. Capital goods are bought to be used rather than to be consumed. So obviously they don't create utility directly. One more time, capital goods are assets that are used to help land and labour produce consumer goods. Capital goods help the economy to grow because they increase the productivity of investment. Just so you know, when firms purchase capital, that's called investment. So what are consumer goods? Well, in contrast to capital goods that are purchased by firms, consumer goods are bought by households, and households buy consumer goods because they derive utility from consuming those consumer goods. So in general, we talk about three types of consumer goods. So durable goods, so that might be a Alfa Romeo car that you buy because you enjoy driving around in it, and that car might last quite a long time, maybe, I don't know, 10 years or something. Then we've got non-durable goods, so these don't last and they just generate immediate utility in the here and now. So when you buy and eat a chocolate bar, you just get your sugar hit, a one-off increase in your utility. And then the final type of consumer goods are services. So for example, if you get a haircut, hopefully you're going to get some utility from that. Or if you go on a foreign holiday and see somewhere exciting like Venice that you'll always remember, that's a consumer good. Why? Well, it gave you utility. On the screen there, you've got a picture of Friedrich von Hayek. He's probably one of the most famous of all the Austrian economists. Austrian because Austrian economists lived in and around Vienna in Austria. A reoccurring theme throughout Austrian economics is this idea that it's sometimes necessary to make a short-term sacrifice in return for achieving a long-term reward of some sort. And I believe that this is the case with regard to investment and growth. So let's dig into this a little bit. So long-run economic growth is desirable because the rightward shift in the PPF created will increase the productive capacity of the economy, enabling more goods and services to be consumed, which will boost material living standards. However, to achieve economic growth tomorrow, some of today's consumption will need to be sacrificed. In other words, to enjoy a better standard of living tomorrow, we'll have to accept a lower standard of living today. Good things come in the long run to those who are prepared to make sacrifices in the short run. Thinking about this is often a theme throughout life. So, for example, if you want to get great A levels and go to a top university, that's a really, really nice thing to happen to you in the long run. But to achieve that long run good outcome, you're going to have to make all manner of short run sacrifices. So whilst you're in the sixth form, a hedonist, a pleasure seeker might want to go out to the cafe or bar or nightclub, or maybe just waste time talking to their mates, because in the short run they might actually get more utility from doing that than putting their head in a book and doing some research. But the failure or the unwillingness to make short-run sacrifices means that you won't achieve this desirable long-term goal of getting great A levels, which you'll have for the rest of your life, and going to a top university. Some people, I guess, would call that quality wisdom, you know, the understanding that sometimes in life it's necessary to make a short-run sacrifice in order to improve your lot in the long run. So let's look at a situation that economists refer to as jam today or more jam tomorrow. So we'll imagine that an economy can produce either capital goods, machinery, other assets and such like, or consumer goods. So that PPF shows all the maximum possible output combinations of capital and consumer goods that are feasible when all factors of production are fully utilised. So let's imagine then that at the moment the economy is operating at point A on the edge of the frontier. So there's no unemployment or anything. And at point A, we're producing C1 consumer goods and K1 capital goods, so that you can see the output mix of the economy is skewed towards consumer goods and away from capital goods. So at the moment we're not really investing very much because we're not really producing many capital goods, only K1. But we're probably having a great time in the short run because we're producing, quite a lot of consumer goods in comparison. Notice that C1 is much further along the x-axis than K1 is up the y-axis. So, as you know, to achieve economic growth in the long run, you need to invest to shift the PPF to the right. So, investment requires an increase in the production of capital goods. So, you might want to increase your output of capital from K1 to K2. To produce more capital, additional factors of production will be needed in the capital goods industry. Now, if you remember, when you're operating on the edge of the frontier, there are no factors of production lying idle. So therefore, the factors of production needed in the capital goods industry to raise output from K1 to K2, they've got to be withdrawn from the consumer good industry. So you can see that to increase the output of capital from K1 to K2, it's necessary to move from point A to point B on the PPF and take factors of production out of consumer goods. And of course, if we take factors of production out of consumer goods, the output of consumer goods is going to drop from C1 to C2. So there we have it. To increase the output of capital, we need to accept the fact that we're going to have rather less consumer goods to enjoy in the short run, only C2 rather than C1. If we are prepared to make that short run sacrifice though, and we are able to invest as a consequence of that, something good will happen. And that something good is that the PPF will shift to the right because we've been investing in capital. We now have more capital. The capital probably will increase the productivity of labour, and that will all increase the productive potential of the economy, shifting the PPF to the right. So it'll be possible to operate at a point like C, which was previously unattainable when we were operating on PPF1. And as you can see from point C, at that point we'll be able to enjoy both more capital and more consumer goods. So if we kind of recap on that, at present the UK's output mix is skewed towards consumer goods. This is because the UK is operating at point A of PPPF1, producing C1 consumer goods and K1 capital goods. The UK would like to achieve a faster rate of growth. To do this, the output of capital goods will need to be increased from K1 to K2. The factors of production needed to produce more capital will have to be withdrawn from the consumer goods industry. This will reduce the output of consumer goods from C1 to C2. The opportunity cost of the decision to increase the output of capital goods from K1 to K2 is a reduction in the output of consumer goods from C1 to C2. In the long run, however, the increase in the output of capital today will expand the productive capacity of the economy tomorrow. And as a consequence of that, we'll be able to enjoy a higher standard of living tomorrow, provided that we're prepared to make a short-run sacrifice today. And I think that's about it, really. That's all that I need to say to you about how to illustrate capital goods and consumer goods on a PPF analysis. Right, I hope you found this reasonably useful, and we've done it in less than 10 minutes, which is great. Okay, that's it. Thanks, bye.